Blessed be everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about the underworld and shadow work, and I wanted to use some of the imagery of the tarot as well. But before we do, I'm Sandra from MysteryWitchSchool.com, author of Crafting Your Wiccan Path. If you want to know more about Wicca and witchcraft, tarot, and of course shadow work, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss any videos. If you want to become a confident tarot reader, take a look at my Confident Tarot Reader course. There's a link in the description field below this video. If you want to know where to start your witchcraft practice, I have a free masterclass called How to Start Your Witchcraft Practice. There's also a link in the description field for that as well. And if you want to do shadow work and you just don't know where to start, or even what shadow work really is, what does it involve, and how can I start getting into a place of being able to really connect to who I am and deal with all of these beliefs that I'm not good enough and the guilt and the shame about being me, then take a look at my free masterclass called How to Heal Your Shadow Through Balancing Your Energy Centers. So there's a link to that in the description field below this video as well. So this video, I guess, has all three of those aspects to it. There's the tarot, of course, which I'll talk about, and the witchcraft path, the Wiccan path, that journey into connecting to who we truly are, connecting to our magical selves. And that does involve shadow work, like it or not, because we can't really understand ourselves in the world or really find joy and pleasure in the world unless we really know who we are, and unless we can really love and accept ourselves and understand that coming from a place of more love and acceptance and compassion is actually the best place to come from. It's not helpful or healthy to come from a place of bitterness and resentment and anger all of the time, and the need for revenge and all of that sort of stuff that's often associated with witchcraft. So the shadow work's really important to help us find the joy in life. If we're people who have struggled in our upbringing or struggled in our past with feelings of not being good enough, not being able to be who we truly are for the fear of what other people think or say, shame, guilt over who we are and what we're interested in and what we want to express in the world, all of those things, shadow work actually can help us love ourselves and accept ourselves more so that we can do that. So that's the whole point of doing this. So when it comes to the imagery of the underworld, I like the psychological, the metaphorical connection between the underworld and the realm of the unconscious mind and shadow work. Like going down into the underworld and meeting those underworld goddesses like Persephone or Ereshkigal or even Hecate. It's like going and doing the work that most people are afraid to do. Most people are afraid to look within for fear of what they might find. And a lot of the time we have inklings of things about ourselves that we're not happy about, or that have been deemed to be something we shouldn't be or shouldn't experience or shouldn't think, yet we do. And all human beings experience this, so you're not alone. And we try to pretend that we're who we're not, and we try to fit in, and we try to say what everyone wants us to say and pretend to believe what everyone else believes, even if we don't, and we kind of end up in this very fake world, and we end up becoming very unfulfilled. We sabotage ourselves. We end up with a lot of self-sabotage, and things don't tend to turn out the way we'd really like them to turn out. When we go into the realm and we go down to that underworld and we face the fears, when we face all of the things about ourselves, the feelings of shame, the feelings of guilt, and realize that they aren't actually really about us as human beings. Those feelings were something that we learned to feel generally as children because it helped us survive in the world at the time. And so we get to meet these parts of ourselves. We get to meet parts of ourselves that may be prejudiced in some way, and understand where all that comes from, and go and basically heal the stuff that's down there. In the mythology of Inanna, when she went down into the underworld to visit her sister Ereshkigal, she has to abandon everything along the way. So there's the 7 gates, and so at each gate she has to let go of something until she basically ends up stark naked with absolutely nothing. All the jewelry, clothing, everything, it's gone. And when you're going into that shadow realm, I guess, or the inner self, that journey into self, you do have to leave all of the material things away and behind, because you can't take them with you. You're really going into the bare bones of who you truly are and healing that aspect. And that healing process can be something that feels unpleasant at the time, because you're emoting and you're experiencing emotions, but it's incredibly liberating at the same time. So think of your journey of going into self and discovering who you are as that descent into the underworld, and almost dying before you die. So it's like the ego has to not die. You can't destroy the ego, and you don't want to destroy the ego, but the ego really does have to take a place, a kind of more of a subservient place when you're going into this realm, because to find your true self and to really step into who you truly are, your higher self has to be the one that ends up running the show. And so the ego does have to take a back seat. And when we go into shadow work and we learn more about ourselves, we see how the ego has been functioning and how we've been sabotaging ourselves, and often why. It's not about judgment. It's not about beating yourself up. It's actually about finding the love for yourself down there, and the tolerance for yourself, and the acceptance for who you are. And when you come back up again, you carry that with you. You carry the ability to be able to see that in everyone else as well, that we're all on the same journey, and we're all struggling with forgetting who and what we really are. So when it comes to the tarot is great with imagery, great with metaphor, and just pondering on various different tarot cards can help you in the process of the shadow work. And the very first one, of course, for me, is the 10 of Swords, where usually when we come to shadow work, it's because we have just had enough. We're at the end of our tether. We just feel like there's just nowhere else to go. And the only place to go is in. It's the only place. There's nowhere outside of ourselves we can go anymore. All options just seem like that you don't want them, they don't have any meaning, or they're just not there. And so the only place we can go is within. And so this starts the journey within. And when you look at the swords, the suit of swords is the suit of our thoughts and our thinking. We've got the swords in the back. So when it comes to this sense of ruin from a shadow work perspective, our thoughts are stabbing us in the back. Our thoughts are what have held us down. Our thoughts have created this situation, generally speaking. Often it's our thoughts that are causing us to feel the way that we're feeling. No matter what's happened outside, no matter what anyone else has done, it is still our thoughts and our way of dealing with the emotions that is causing the pain. And if we want to see the sunrise, if we want to be able to get up from this situation, we really do have to go within in order to come back up again into being a different person, essentially. And that different person isn't not you, that different person is actually who you really are. It's finding out who you really are and becoming who you really are. So it's not about changing yourself because you want to become a better person. It's you changing and removing the things that are actually stopping you from being who you really are. So the next thing that happens, once you realize you're at rock bottom and that the only way to go is to go on the journey. And often that means leaving some things behind, leaving what you thought made you happy behind, leaving those cups behind. Understanding that the emotional pain is there, but you have to go and find what's missing. You have to go and find the missing link to your happiness. So it's either going and finding something to bring back to complete the happiness, or it's just abandoning what you thought was working for you that isn't. And so you're going off into the night to be able to find what it is that you really are looking for. And when it comes to the cups, you're looking at relationship, you're looking at love, you're looking at that relationship with yourself. And when I was looking at these cards today, I was just looking through the deck to find a card to talk about for another video on tarot. And I was thinking of shadow work at the same time because I was going to do the video on shadow work. And so the 3 cards that came out or jumped out at me when I was flicking through the deck were the Ten of Swords, the Eight of Cups, and Judgment card. But because I'm very familiar with the shadow work process, I thought I really need to put the Devil card in there just before we move on to Judgment, because the Devil card is really the card of dealing with the fear and what binds us to self-sabotage, what's keeping us chained to behaviours and perceptions of ourselves and the world around us that's stopping us from actually really being able to create lives full of joy and happiness and empowerment. And this card here has just got some great imagery about how we keep ourselves bound to this, because the chains around the couple's necks are very loose chains. They could actually pick those chains up and take them off their head if they wanted to. But because they believe they don't have a choice, because they've been conditioned their whole lives to thinking that this is just the way things are and it can't change, they don't even try to take the chain off because they don't even know they can. This is really a card that shows you that a lot of the time we don't know that we can be happy again, that we can change our lives, that we don't have to believe what we believe about ourselves and the world. We don't know we can change it. We're so used to thinking the outside world determines our happiness, that, or other people determine our happiness, that we don't know we can actually change the whole thing within ourselves. And the Devil card is a reminder of that this is often the state that we're in. We just don't know that we can take those chains off because we've had them our whole lives, and it's not something we knew we could do. But when we do realize we can take the chains off and we do go through that work of understanding ourselves, going through the feelings of the guilt and the shame, and understanding a lot of that came from our inner child and what we experienced as children, we can work through that, move through that, change beliefs about ourselves and the world, forgive ourselves for things, and we can start to then awaken to who we are. And that awakening is like the Judgment card, where we are able to awaken to the call of our higher self, which is represented by the angel. And it's like we've come up from the underworld then and floated to the surface of the underworld and starting to awaken to our divine nature, that we are divine beings, that we are gods and goddesses too, and that we have the ability to be able to do a lot more on this planet than we thought that we could. We push and push physically in this planet. We push and push to try and change everybody else's thoughts and everybody else's beliefs and everybody else's opinions. It's always about trying to manipulate the outside world, and really it's an inside job. It's about us awakening, realizing who we are, and that the best way really to make change in the world is to change ourselves first, and to then gently be able to bring out what it is that we want to bring out to other people in order to help them see in a positive way that the change is a good change, rather than trying to force it all the time, because we're so used to doing that. So for me, those 4 cards are a pictorial way of seeing the process of shadow work. And if you meditate on the meanings of those cards, it can help you see where you're at in your shadow work. It's kind of like a case of you just go back and forth all the time. It's like shadow work isn't just a one sort of journey and then you get to the end and you're enlightened and everything's good. It's a constant journey. It's like going around in a spiral, and at each level of the spiral, you get more of an understanding, but that doesn't mean that you don't still experience unpleasant experiences and unpleasant emotions, and that you don't go through hard times, because you still do. It's just that you learn to navigate your way through them in a way that is much more helpful and more peaceful than maybe how you would have been able to navigate or not navigate your way through situations in the past. It's a way of bringing more of a sense of inner peace. Even in turmoil, there's still a sense of calm and peace there, which is probably the best way to describe what it's like. And I'm a big advocate of, you know, sort of that self-inquiry or self-development work, where you are going in and going, well, what are my beliefs, you know, at this level on this subject, and how have those beliefs been helping me or not helping me? And do I want to change them? And if so, how do I change them? And that's why I choose working with the chakras when I'm doing shadow work, because it's easy to work with the chakras, because at each chakra there's certain beliefs that are particular to that energy of that chakra. And when we're developing from childhood into adulthood, those chakras also develop as well along the way. And so we hold different beliefs about ourselves and the world at each chakra level. And when we can clear those beliefs, we can then help those chakras function a lot better. They're either under functioning or they're over functioning, and so we're trying to build more of a balance. So that's how I work with shadow work. With my course, Wheels of Empowerment, that is a shadow work course that is available to you at any time to do. You're not alone. You've got me along the way to help you with anything that's confusing or anywhere that you're stuck. And it just helps you work through the chakras as well as working through beliefs. There's some really nice rituals in there that you can do to bring magic and ritual into your healing process and into your transformational process, which is what shadow work really is. It's a transformational process. And as well as learning different modalities to be able to access your beliefs and change them, actually change them. Not just know they're there and then go, oh, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do about it now. I know I have this belief that I'm not good enough, but no matter how many affirmations I do, I still don't feel good enough. It's actually about helping you change those things. So if you're interested in the shadow work, take a look at Wheels of Empowerment. There's a link in the description field below for that one as well. If you like the video, hit the like button and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe. I am Sandra from mysterywitchschool.com. Blessed be.